don't go to a mentor who is 1,000 steps ahead of you. Like, if I'm just starting to learn golf, Tiger Woods would be a terrible mentor for me because, he's going to be talking about things that are way, way too advanced, right? Find a mentor who's maybe only a few steps ahead of you, and they tend to be not to be as expensive as kind of the gurus at the top of the hill.
Are you a solopreneur looking to 2 times your revenue to fund your lifestyle and give back? Well, this podcast is for you. We bring you inspirational guests sharing actionable tips to solve many of the struggles you face each and every day. And now over to your host, Paul Higgins.
Hello to the Build, Live, Give podcast. If you're a first-time listener, welcome. If you're a regular, thanks for your support. I'd love to get your feedback. Just email me at paul@buildlivegive.com. So our guest today is someone who worked in some of the biggest blue chip corporations in Australia. Worked in IT, but he knew all along that as an employee, he made a much better solopreneur. He built a great business which was delivering excellent value, but there was something missing, and that was new leads. So he went on a journey to solve this, and now cracking the code, he helps others with his No.1 marketing book on Amazon. So why listen? One is you'll get to know how you can become a best-selling author on Amazon. 2 is what is essential in a marketing plan to deliver leads. And then the third thing is how to build a team to work 25 hours a week and really live the life that you've always wanted. So at the end, I'll give you my top 3 takeaways, which I must admit on this podcast was very difficult because Allan has given so much value. But what I'll do now is hand you over to Allan Dib from SuccessWise. Welcome, Allan Dib from SuccessWise to the Build, Live, Give podcast. Great to have you here, Allan.
Hey, Paul. Pleasure to be on the show.
Yeah, so why don't we start with something that your family or friends know about you that we may not?
I used to play the marimba back in the day, which the marimba, if you don't know what that is, that's it's like a xylophone, but it's played with 4 mallets, 2 in each hand. So not a lot of people know that, but
yeah. So the obvious question is why that?
I just love the sound of it. It's a beautiful instrument. It's like a xylophone, but very deep. It's almost like a wooden piano. So I loved it.
Great. And what age did you get into that?
I got into that in high school. So probably I must have been maybe 15, 16, something like that.
Great. And you still dust off the keys now?
No, I don't even own one anymore. I haven't played one in decades. So, I'll have to get back to it one day.
Brilliant. And I know you had, a stint in corporate, and then back in 1999, you left to pursue your own interests. Just tell us a little bit about your history in corporate, and then, why the jump across into your own business.
Yeah, look, I worked in corporate. I worked at a very large telco in Australia in the corporate area. I worked for a large cosmetics company as an IT manager. It was always to me a stopgap until I did my own thing. I've never been a good employee, never been good at just working for someone else. As to me, it was always a temporary measure till I got started on my own enterprise. I just found it an exercise in frustration most of the time. The bureaucracy or the red tape. As entrepreneurs, we just love to just do our own thing and go in our own direction, and that doesn't really gel very well in the corporate environment, I found.
Yeah, and did you grow up in an entrepreneurial household?
I did not. No. It was, starting your own business was kind of viewed as risky. Although, my dad did quite a few businesses with various levels of success, but no, I wouldn't say it was an entrepreneurial environment at all.
Yeah, and did those, I suppose, mixed successes by your dad? Did that ever make you more fearful or less fearful in going out in your own business?
I would say less fearful because, I could see that, you need to get a few basics right. You need to be able to, write a good ad. You need to be able to get a customer in. You need to be able to pay the bills. So I learned the basics. I think that certainly did help a lot.
Great. And I always ask, was it easier or harder than you expected when you finally made the jump?
Oh, it was way harder. Yeah. Yeah, it's way, way harder. So I thought all I needed to be, I'm a pretty good IT guy. All I need to do is be good at what I do, and I am. So this is going to be easy. I'll be driving that Ferrari in no time.
Yeah. And what were the hardest bits? What are the bits that you wish you had got right quicker?
Really marketing. To me, that was, I was a dead broke IT geek. I was good at what I did. I was good at the technical stuff. I was good at fiddling with technology and all of that. I distinctly remember having a conversation with my business partner at the time. We were walking to lunch as we did most days, and I said, we've got a great business here. We've got pretty high margins. Customers love us. Customers stick around forever. Oh, so we've got the major stuff right. And this minor little thing called sales and marketing, we just need to get that right, and then we're going to be killing it. And so I made a mistake that many entrepreneurs make, and that's mixing up major and minor. So I thought I had the major thing covered off, and this little minor thing called sales and marketing, we just need to kind of figure out a few tricks there. And little did I know that the major and minor were confused there. I had the minor thing in place, but I didn't have the major thing in place.
Yeah, and as a rule of thumb, like how much time should people listening right now spend on marketing and sales versus the opposite of their business?
Certainly in the beginning, the vast majority of your time, and certainly it should be the vast majority of your focus, because, I've spoken to a few entrepreneurs lately, and it's a funny thing keeps coming up. Like a lot of them will have had success, for example, outsourcing their IT or outsourcing their legal services or outsourcing their accounting. And so naturally they say, hey, how about we outsource our marketing? And it's one of those things. It just touches every part of your business. It's so core. It just cannot be completely abdicated like that. Yes, of course you get outside help. Of course you have people helping you with execution and all of that. But to just say, hey, somebody else is going to take care of my marketing. It's kind of like saying, hey, how do I outsource being a husband or a father or whatever, a family member? Because like I said, it just touches every part of your business. I know Peter Drucker said, the two major exercises of an entrepreneur are innovation and marketing, and I fully agree with that.
Yeah, and I'll quick shout out to an old coach of mine when I first left, Pete Williams. He said, just make sure you've got an offer that converts and make sure you're getting leads into your business. And I just didn't listen. I just spent the whole time improving the widget, but there was no one there to buy. So, yes, learned that lesson the hard way. And what about for you? Who, sort of supported you through the journey?
So I in the beginning, I read a lot of the books. I attended a lot of the seminars. I had some mentors who helped me along the journey. It definitely took longer and was more expensive than it should have been. And reason being, I tried to do it all myself, and I tried to do it all with trial and error. And that was a very time-consuming and expensive way to do it. Looking back at it now, and what I do now, when I need help in a particular area, I go to the person that I know can help me with that, and I pay them. Right, I get them to guide me, to mentor me, to show me the things that I need to know, and that's a shortcut. That's a way that you can shortcut the trial and error process, and I think that's something that I would recommend highly to anyone. If you're falling short in a particular area, yes, no doubt, anyone listening to this would be intelligent enough to be able to work stuff out themselves. You've probably gotten to that stage many times in your life. But if you can shortcut that process, that's a very, very good trade, because money is a renewable resource, but unfortunately time is not, right? So you can get more money, but you can't get more time. So I wish I had a shortcut that decade-long process of trial and error in marketing. And although I learnt a lot and, eventually got there, like I said, it took too long and it was too expensive, both in time and money.
Yeah, and I know for a lot of people listening right now, they're thinking, "But it's the chicken and the egg." I know I need to get help, but I just don't have the cash to pay for it. What's some advice for people that are in that situation?
Well, a mentor of mine used to say, "Pay once, cry once." So, you can look. It's kind of hard when you don't have the budget or whatever, but a lot of the times the resources are available that are not very expensive. A lot of times it's about being resourceful rather than having the resources. So it's often not expensive to find a mentor that is a few steps ahead of you. And that's the other thing that I would say. Don't go to a mentor who is 1,000 steps ahead of you. Like, if I'm just starting to learn golf, Tiger Woods would be a terrible mentor for me because, he's going to be talking about things that are way, way too advanced, right? I need someone to show me how to hold the golf club. I need someone to show me, how to position myself and all of that sort of stuff. And that's stuff that he would have been focusing on decades ago. And now he's kind of focused on the finer points. So find a mentor who's maybe only a few steps ahead of you, and they tend to be not to be as expensive as kind of the gurus at the top of the hill.
Yeah, look, I so agree. And, I suppose with my community, I often say to people, like, you're a coffee drinker, and they go, yeah. I said, well, look, the price of getting my 28 years worth of experience is less than a coffee a day, and there's so many other great options out there, including, some of the work that you do. I think that's great advice not to go too far ahead. So if we go into the build section, which, is about the business you got today, when people ask, look, Allan, what do you do at SuccessWise? How do you answer that?
Yeah, so it's quite simple. I help people get clarity as it relates to their marketing, and more importantly, I help people build their own internal marketing capability. So that's really what I do. So I'm kind of the opposite of a marketing agency. A marketing agency will just do the stuff for you. I teach you how you can build that capability in-house so that you can have your marketing executed in-house and actioned within there.
Great. And, was that something that naturally came to you? Did you have some pivots to get there? Why that approach?
Yeah, so I certainly did have some pivots. So initially, when I started the business, I did think, I would go into a done-for-you kind of approach. And, but what I quickly found out was the days of the general marketing agency or the marketing agency that just does everything for you, they're over because things have gotten so broad and so complicated. So yes, there is a place for marketing agencies still, but I think a narrow focus. So the agency that's just experts at pay-per-click advertising on Google, or the Facebook agency, or the LinkedIn agency, or the agency that just works on graphic design or rebranding. I think the agency that just does everything for you, I've very rarely seen that work very well. Usually you'll end up paying a lot of money and getting very little in return. And it's just because it's become so complicated, and very often the incentives are not aligned well. So your incentive as a business owner is to keep your cost of acquisition low, to keep your overheads low, whereas the incentive of a marketing agency generally is to sell you as much media as possible and make a commission on that media and the number of billable hours. So I think the incentives are not always aligned. I'm not saying all people who run a marketing agency are bad or anything like that. It's basically similar to what I saw in the IT industry. So in the IT industry, you used to bill per hour. And so you're effectively incentivized for things to break more often. So we changed that up in the IT industry. We went to a managed services approach where basically we were charging a fixed monthly fee. And when you're charging a fixed monthly fee, you're now incentivized for things to not break, because if things break and you're only charging that fixed monthly fee, your costs of servicing that customer now go up dramatically. So you've now got the same incentives aligned with the customer that, you don't want things to break, and neither does the customer, and you align with those. And as well-intentioned as any of us are, I'm not saying that anyone purposely does that, but what we've found is that people respond to economic incentives, and that's just a fact of life. And so going back to that approach, I think that someone who's internal to your business will know your business much better. Their incentives will be much more aligned with yours, and you'll be able to respond to opportunities faster.
Yeah, no, really rich insights. And I know that you've got, an amazing book, an Amazon bestseller, the one-page marketing plan. What do you know about writing and launching a book that few others don't?
I know a lot more now. When I first launched the book, I knew zero, and I took my own advice there. I did hire someone who helped me with the ins and outs and go, launch the book. So I certainly know a lot more about the whole process now, and in fact, I'm mentoring several other authors with their books, which has been great. But really, the key thing that's related to this book and really related to any product launch. And a book is a product launch. Make no mistake about that, because a lot of authors feel like the marketing and the promotion is beneath them, and it's something that they might do for a month or two after they launch the book and then forget about it. Whereas 3 years later, after the book then was initially launched, we're now marketing it and pushing it more than we ever were at the beginning. So you need to think of it as a continuous process. It's a process. It's not an event. So it's something that you do on a continuous basis, and we put more resources into it now than we ever have 3 years after the book was first launched. And, I see that all the time. Authors will put together a book. They spend 5 years researching, writing, editing, all of that sort of stuff. Then they spend a couple of months trying to promote it, and that's it. It's gone. All of that effort is kind of put onto the back burner, and they're either onto their next book or next project or whatever else. And I think it's just really a shame. You need to treat it like any other product, and put the appropriate resources behind it.
And when you say appropriate resources, so what are the things that have worked really well for you?
Yep. So specific to the book launch, some of the things that have worked really well are ads on the Amazon platform. We reach out to people to review it, and we give them free review copies. So if anyone's listening has got a blog or a podcast, happy to send you a free copy of the book. And all we ask is for an honest review. We reach out to podcasts, and we get onto podcasts like this one and talk about the concepts in the book. So those are a few of the things that we do. But one of the central things that I will say, and a lot of people ask me, why was the book successful? Yes, all of these strategies and all of these tactics that we use, they absolutely add fuel to the fire. But you've got to have a good hook. You've got to have a book where people read the title and they think, hey, I want that, right? So people see the one-page marketing plan and they think, wow, yes, I do need a marketing plan, and this sounds like it's going to make it really easy. That's when the magic happens, when you've got an offer that converts in the form of a book, and then you can add other fuel to the fire and really, really make that thing rocket up.
Great. And into the book itself, what are some of the key themes in the book that help people with their marketing?
Yeah, so a few of the key concepts of the book is, so number one is professionals have plans, right? So many businesses are flying blind, essentially. And it's kind of like if you stepped onto an airplane and you overheard the two pilots chatting, and one pilot said to the other, hey, do you have the flight plan? And the other guy goes, look, don't worry about the flight plan. We know how to get there. You'd freak out, right? But that's exactly how many businesses are running their business, and particularly the most important part of their business is the customer acquisition. They're kind of just winging it. They're just saying, look, we'll figure it out as we go along. We'll slap up an ad on Google, or we'll set up a website, and we'll hope for the best, that sort of thing. They don't have a plan in place. And I'm not saying that they have to have a perfect plan, but any plan is better than no plan, right? Mm. So the concept being that professionals have plans. If pilots have a flight plan, the military has a military operations plan, your doctor has a treatment plan. And so whenever we see that the stakes are high, there's a plan in place. And very often when we see someone mess something up greatly, usually they either didn't have a plan or didn't follow a plan. And so the concept being, you need a plan around your marketing. And it's not the type of traditional old kind of marketing plan that was, 70 pages long, had charts and graphs and all of that sort of stuff, because I used to have one of those in my first business. I paid a consultant to come in and help me. I paid him, I think, $2,500 at the time, which I really couldn't afford. But I wanted to have a marketing plan and a business plan, and so it was this big, thick document that got shoved in the top drawer of my desk, and I never looked at it again until years later when I was moving out of the office, and I looked at it, dusted it off, and tossed it in the trash. And so I wanted to come up with a process where someone could literally in a single page create a very sophisticated direct response marketing plan for their business. And it being one page means it's practical. It can be sit on the desk. It can be pinned up on the office wall. It can change when it needs to be changed easily. So if we say, look, hey, we want to pivot, or we want to change our target market slightly, or we need to adjust our messaging, you can do that quite easily because it's a one-page marketing plan.
Fantastic. Other key components. What else is the gold in the book? So people get a really good sense to go out and get it, obviously.
Yeah. So the next thing is we talk about large company marketing versus small business style marketing, and it's kind of like you'll see large companies, they do a lot of kind of name recognition style marketing. You'll see that with Apple, Nike, all of those sorts of companies where, there's a billboard, there's their name, there's their logo, maybe a bit of a tagline or something like that. And the whole idea of that type of marketing, what we call mass marketing, is basically to get your name out there, and then as people recognize us and know us more, then hopefully they'll buy some of our product. And that's totally fine, and that works well for large companies because they have very, very large budgets. They have very long time frames, and they also have very, very different very, very different goals for their marketing as well. So, for example, right up there on their list of goals is, pleasing the board of directors, appeasing shareholders, satisfying superiors' biases, satisfying clients' preconceptions, winning advertising and creating creative awards, and getting buy-in and from various committees and stakeholders. And then somewhere down the list is kind of making a profit. Whereas if you ask a small business owner what is the point of your marketing and what is the goal of your marketing, literally the only thing that matters is making a profit, right? All of the other stuff is completely irrelevant. So the type of marketing that really works well for a small business owner is called direct response marketing. And we really go over that in a lot of depth in the book. We cover off what it is, how to implement it, how to get it right. And so that's a lot of the time that's spent in the book.
All right, fantastic. And who is your ideal client, for the book in particular, but also for you and your business?
Yeah, so I wrote the book I wish I had when I was first learning marketing. So I read so many great books, and not to take anything away from them, but they always left me with a little bit of a snippet of something. I always got a piece of gold out of every book, marketing book, business book that I read. But what I was missing was that big, holistic, big picture. So how do I go from knowing nothing to really implementing marketing well in my business? And that was the whole goal of my book. So my book assumes nothing, so you don't have to know anything about marketing to read the book. And by the end, you should have a very good concept of sophisticated direct response marketing. And so I wrote it for my former self, which was a small business owner doing somewhere between $500,000 to 30-40 million in revenue, who I wanted to level up my marketing. I'd tried many different bright, shiny objects. I'd been spending money on marketing, sometimes successfully, most of the time unsuccessfully. And so I wanted to just level up and really understand the whole concept and the whole process a lot better. So that's really who the book is for.
Great. And I know the thing I love about, and, Allan, I know I've been following you for a while, is you do practice what you preach. So in the next 12 months, what sort of growth rate are you looking at? You're looking at 2 times, 5 times, like what growth rate are you forecasting in your business?
Yeah, so we should finish up this financial year at pretty close to 100% revenue growth. I expect that to continue in the next financial year as well, to get pretty close to that as well. So, and you're right, we are following the things that we preach. I've been investing a lot in the team. I've been investing a lot in upskilling the team on new tactics, and we implement processes in the business. So, and what I mean by that is when we find something that works, and we test a lot of stuff, and some stuff doesn't work, right? So you test 5 things, and maybe 2 of them will work, and 3 of them don't. So we think of ourselves as like a mad scientist laboratory when it comes to marketing. And so when we find something that works, we roll it out to our clients and we implement it ourselves. So we put it together, the processes that we do daily, weekly, monthly from a marketing perspective, and we roll those things out. So like I said, I've been investing a lot in the team. I've been expanding that. And, we just want to continue serving small business owners and helping them to really get clarity and structure when it comes to marketing.
Great. And what's the biggest challenge you face in getting and keeping that 100% growth?
Look, the biggest challenge, I think, is the people and the processes. So, when you're growing at 100% per annum, and that's quite a bit of trajectory. You've got to hire the right people. You've got to hire the right staff, and you've got to, the processes that worked when you were a $500,000 business don't really work when you're a $5 million business. Wheels start coming off, and so you've got to invest more in systems, in technology, in some of the things that you do as on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. So you've got to continue improving some of the systems.
Yeah, and what's a key system that you have recently implemented that really helps you keep up with that growth?
Yeah, so for us, we'd recently implemented a project management system. So previously, we were using combinations of spreadsheets and Slack and a few of those things. And those things are fine for a small team. But as things grow in complexity and things grow in number, you need to have a better system. So we recently implemented a really comprehensive project management system. We continue to invest in our CRM system, so creating more complex campaigns, creating more numerous campaigns so that they're relevant and hyper-targeted to our audience. We want to always go to our audience with stuff that's highly relevant to them. We don't want to go out with something just too general that goes to everyone and it's only relevant to a small part of the list.
Great. And what's the PM system that you just implemented?
We implemented a system called ClickUp. So we had evaluated a whole heap of different systems. We were down to probably Asana and ClickUp. And I let my team leader basically make the call on which one. ClickUp had much faster rate of development. Asana's well known and well used, but we felt that ClickUp just had a higher rate of development. They seem to be implementing innovative features at a more rapid pace. So I liked that. And so, yeah, that's the system we went with.
Great. And your CRM?
CRM, we use Ontraport.
Okay, cool. Excellent. And what would you need to do to 10x your business? I know you're doubling it at the moment, but what do you think you'd need to do to 10x it?
To 10x it, I think we would need to fundamentally change the model, which I don't think I'm ready to do right now. So I think we would need to go to probably a group model, and we would probably need to run physical events again, which I'm not terribly keen to do. For me, I want business growth, but I want it subject to my lifestyle factors. I don't want this to take over my life. I've run offices and large teams and all of that before. And, as much as I enjoyed it, now I'm really enjoying what I do, which is working from my home office. I'm here right now overlooking the bay. I've got a virtual team all over the world. So I've got people in the Philippines. I've got people in South Africa. I've got people in the US. And I really like that a lot more than having a physical office and a physical space and having to be somewhere at a particular time. So I do want business growth, but I want it subject to my lifestyle factors. That comes first right now. So I don't want growth at all costs, because I've had that before and I've enjoyed it tremendously, but it's not for me right now.
Yeah, no, look, you're talking the language of build, live, give. So the number one source of leads, what's your number one source of leads at the moment into your business?
Yeah, my number one source of leads will be people who've either read the book or people who've seen a video on LinkedIn or on YouTube, or who've read a blog post that I've written. I write columns in some other industry publications as well, so I have leads come through that. We also quite effectively use PR. That's become a lot easier to hack than people often acknowledge. We've got a pretty diverse source of leads. Probably if I had to choose one, the number one would be people who've read my book. People have gotten my book on Amazon or another bookstore or something like that. They've read the book. They've really connected with some of the ideas in there, and they make contact with us.
Yeah, look, I know for most of people listening right now, it's B2B businesses, and I think there's three. There's LinkedIn, which at the moment it's absolute gold rush. And if you're listening and you're not clear, please reach out to me, because we're getting some amazing results on LinkedIn. Second is a podcast, which is, what we're on now. And then the third is a book. So I think, and I'm just about to launch my book, and it is hard. I know, Al, you sort of coach and mentor a lot of people doing it. It's really hard, but, from what I've seen from your business, that's really propelled your growth.
Yeah, good.
Excellent. So, and you talk about your team. How do you go about finding those A players, those key people to be in your team?
One of the things that I really found worked well is to hire from the top down. So I hired my team leader first. She was my first hire, and she's hired pretty much the rest of my team. And that does a couple of things. That makes her a lot more responsible for the rest of the team. What I did previously and what didn't, I'll tell you what didn't work, was where I made all the hiring decisions, and then I was in the middle. I was the bottleneck between everybody else. Everybody reported to me. That did not work well because, I didn't want to deal with HR issues. I didn't want, I'm slow to respond because I'm busy working with clients or whatever. So things were bottlenecked and backed up with me. So right now, my team leader, she runs my team. Everything goes through her, and I kind of almost like orbit the business like a moon. So I work on projects that I enjoy working on. I work with clients, and really I have 2 management meetings with her twice a week. And then I have an all-hands meeting for about half an hour once a week with the whole team. And really, the all-hands meeting, we're not really talking in-depth business stuff, where it's really a catch-up to talk with the team, to encourage them, give them pats on the back, and kind of we see each other's face. That's really all it's about. And then in our 2 management meetings, we have a management meeting on Monday and on Thursday for an hour each. That's when we rapid fire go through all of the decisions that need to be made. Right, what are we doing there? What are we doing there? What's happening with that? So that we're not wasting a lot of time going onesie twosie all through the week. And that way I can focus on what I do best, which is working with clients, working on my next project or my next book or whatever else it is. And then my team leader, she's taking care of the rest of the team. She's taking care of HR issues. She's taking care of what we're doing on a daily basis, any questions that come through. So that's what I've found has worked really, really well versus what hasn't worked well in the past.
Yeah, and look, it sounds like you're very good at letting go, very good at delegating. Was it always the case that you were really good at that?
No, not at all. It's a very recent skill, and it's kind of hard. Like when you see something, you think, man, I'd do that differently. And you've just got to kind of stop yourself and think, all right, look, is it 80% as good as I would have done it? And if it is, you just let it go. If it's really going to mess up something, then okay, you step in and you do something. But that tends to be very rare these days. So really, you've got to just say, nobody's ever going to do stuff that 100% the way that you would do it, right? And you always think that your way is the best, right? So you've got to just let go and say, you know what? Just let it go. Just let them do the work 80% as good, and that frees you up. That removes you as a bottleneck. Whereas if you've got to approve everything and approve every step and then step in and say, no, I want that changed to that, it's going to really, really grind things to a halt.
Yeah, and look, a lot of people, with my recent health issues, they say, it's unfortunate you've been dealt those cards. I'm like, no, it's actually brilliant because it was forcing me to let go. Now, I must admit, I've always been a natural delegator, and my wife always laughs at it. So I think for me, it was a lot easier, but I know for a lot of people, listening here, that's probably the key thing, because I think the number one thing that's going to get into the road of growth is you running your own business. And I think if you can get out of your own way, that's when the magic happens. So before we go into the live section, I like to talk about some killer content that we're putting on LinkedIn. So if you go and search Build, Live, Give, and you'll find me as an employee, just send me a personalised invite saying that you heard Allan and I on this podcast. And once connected, you'll see my daily posts, which will really help you to double your business, to fund your lifestyle, and also to give back. So now, El, we'll go into the live section. So what are some daily habits that really help you to be successful?
Some of the daily habits I think that have been key to me is to remove decisions from things that I want to achieve, and particularly when it comes to your business life and also when it comes to your personal life. Like, I'll give you an example. So very often people wake up in the morning and they think, right, am I going to exercise this morning or am I not? And they're having to make that decision every single day. What I did is replace a lot of that stuff with systems. So, for example, when I wake up in the morning, I automatically put on my gym clothes. So even if I'm not going to exercise, I put on my gym clothes, because that means I'm much, much more likely to step in, even if it's for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I've done something towards that goal. Another example, I'm a chocoholic, and I really had to stop. So I basically made sure that my wife never buys chocolate for me. It's not available in the house. So if I want chocolate, I've got to get in the car and go down to the shops and get it, right? So, and that means that more likely than not, I'm not going to have it. So basically set up the systems that remove decision making in as it relates to your goals.
I think that's great. I once heard someone that took it a step further, unfortunately, which was to wear their gym clothes to bed. So when they got out of bed, they were already in them. But I think putting them on in the morning is a much better option.
Yes.
Brilliant. And on average, how many hours a week do you work?
Yeah, so typically I'm working about 25 to 30 hours a week. When there's a big project on or something like that, I'll obviously step that up. But typically I try to keep it down to 25 to 30 hours. I like to keep a balanced lifestyle.
Yeah, that's great. And look, I know a lot of people listening right now thinking, gee, that'd just be a dream. What's one action they could do today to get towards that?
One action is just, so many people think that they've got to spend 8 hours in front of the computer or 8 hours in the office, and they do spend that time. But you'll find, like, it's funny, like if you've got a medical appointment at 2 p.m. and you're going to be out for the rest of the day, you'll get your work done by 2 p.m., right? It's kind of like, the amount of available work fills the time that's available. So, and I heard this from Brian Tracy many years ago, and I've really tried. I mean, I don't always succeed at it, but it's kind of work all the time that you're working and play all the time that you're playing, right? So don't play when you're supposed to be working, and don't work when you're supposed to be playing. So be present with your children when you're with your children. Be present when you're watching the movie. Don't have the laptop open and sort of be half working, half playing. So I found that works really well. Like I said, I don't always succeed at that. Sometimes, procrastination kicks in. You're looking at a website for too long or whatever, go off on a tangent. But I like to keep that in mind, really. Work when you're working, play when you're playing.
Brilliant. And, Sarah Jane, your wife, she's going to be listening right now. What would you like to say to her about the support she's given you through this journey?
Oh, look, I couldn't do what I do without her and without her support. And, it's kind of like I get to be on stage, get all the credit, get all the praise, get all the public support and all of that. And, she's kind of like in the background. But really, I couldn't do what I do without her at all. I mean, her support, both emotional, physical, everything else is absolutely integral to my success. And, like I said, even though I'm on stage and I get all the praise and all of that sort of stuff, it really is a 50-50 effort.
Great. And just on that, look, I know some people are very fearful of becoming known. They like to fly under the radar. Obviously, with the success of your book, you've, hit through that next stratosphere. What about for you? Was it easy for you to be more famous, or did you struggle with that at the beginning?
Yeah, look. I'm naturally an introvert, which means I get energized when I'm spending time alone, and I get drained when I'm spending a lot of time with a lot of people. So I'm naturally not someone who's kind of very outgoing and all of that sort of stuff. But you've just got to do what you need to do, right? When you get on stage, you've got to perform, and you've got to deliver, and it's just part of being a professional. Professionals show up and deliver. It's kind of like, you don't want your doctor, you coming to a doctor's appointment and he going, you know what, I really don't feel like treating you today. Professionals have to perform whether they feel like it or not, and you've got to do that.
Yeah, and look, I've seen you live at the Superfast Business Conference, and you were absolutely fantastic. So you're definitely a pro in my eyes. So the next section's the give section. And what's a charity or a community you're passionate about, and why?
Look, I'm really passionate about animals. So wherever possible, I try to support causes like the RSPCA. I love animals, and we just. Both myself and Sarah Jane, we're very passionate about that.
Excellent. Well, so is my daughter, but I keep telling her that she's got to wait till she gets her own place to have multiple pets. We've got a cavoodle, which is really a hybrid between a cat and a dog. And I said at the moment, you don't need a cat because you've got one of both in the one. The last section is the action section. So I'll ask you some questions and just get some rapid fire responses. So the first one is, what are your top 3 personal effectiveness tips?
Yeah, so probably my my top of personal effectiveness tip would be to match your workload with your energy levels. And for me, I find on a Monday morning, I'm energized, I'm ready to go, I'm roaring to hit the day, and so I really front load my week. So I work probably a 12-hour day on a Monday. And then on a Tuesday, I probably do a normal day, say an 8-hour day or so like that. By Wednesday, I'm doing about maybe a 6-hour day. On Thursday, I do a half a day, and then I'll pretty much take Friday off. So I try and match my energy to my workload, and so I really front load my week. And I'll probably get more done on a Monday than most people get done all week, just because my energy levels are high. I can really smash it and get it done, and then that way I can have pretty much a 3-day weekend most weeks.
Great. And your second and third?
My second and third is, my second one would probably be, as I touched on earlier, really work when you work, play when you play. Don't confuse play with work. That way you don't have to work an 8-hour day. You could say, look, 2 hours today is enough. And my third one would be, it's a concept I call consistently underachieving. A lot of people think that they've got to do this massive push and this one-off, and that's great if you're doing a launch or something like that, but really I find the people who get the best results are people who are just consistently do small things. And so if you're some days energy levels are low and all you can do is you're going to procrastinate all day in front of the computer and waste time and not get the stuff done that you need to do. So I'd rather say, look, let me make those 3 phone calls that will progress me to that big project that I'm working on, and I'll just take the rest of the day off because I know I'm not going to be effective anyway. I might as well just chill out and watch Netflix or do whatever, have a bit of fun, and do that guilt-free. So consistently underachieve. Do work consistently rather than having to create that big, massive push to get some stuff out.
Great. And what's a tech platform? I know you mentioned a few before, but what's a tech platform that you really couldn't do without to run your business?
There's a few. So Ontraport CRM. I love Calendly because it means that people can just schedule me in when I'm available and when I make time slots available, and there's not that back and forth, okay, can you make it Monday at 10 a.m.? No, I can't. Can you do 11:30 a.m.? No, let's do Tuesday or whatever. And, people can just grab a time slot and it books into my calendar, and I never have to think about it and have that back and forth waste of time in the email chain.
Great. And the next one is your best source of ideas. Where do you get your best ideas to improve your business?
From my clients. My clients are just absolutely my best source because, especially in coaching, you tend to hear a lot of the same patterns and a lot of the same questions, and they're absolutely the best source of ideas because that if 10 people are asking you the similar questions or have similar challenges, then this is something that your community really wants to know about, and so they make up the best source of ideas.
Great. And I'll save the big question to the last. What impact do you want to leave on the world?
Yeah, so, right now, very often when I speak on stage, I ask the audience, what percentage of businesses go out of business in the first 5 years? And, I get various answers. Some people say it's 80%. Some people say it's 90%. And, the stats vary on that. But nobody ever says, hey, it's only 5% of businesses that go out of business, or 10%. Everyone's up there at 70, 80, 90%. And I don't accept that. I don't think that should be the reality. Like if 70, 80, 90% of car trips ended up in a fatal accident, there'd be riots in the streets, right? We would want to do something about it. And, I don't accept that 70, 80, 90% of businesses have to fail. So I'm out there to make an impact on that number because that has a big flow-on effect. Businesses that go under means, people go into depression, people have financial issues, people have family issues, and so it flows on into the community. So I want to impact that number. I don't want it to be 70, 80, 90% that go out of business. I want that to be a much, much lower number. And so really the impact that I want to leave is helping more businesses succeed.
Yeah, love it. And per the name, SuccessWise. Indeed. So look, you can find out more about all the awesome resources Allan's got at successwise.com. And if you go there, you can get your free one-page marketing plan, Canvas. So it's there on the website. And also you can go to Amazon and buy his amazing book, The One-Page Marketing Plan. I spent 18 years marketing at Coca-Cola, and I just loved reading the book. And the thing I loved about it most is just how simple he made it. And as he said, that's the most important thing these days, rather than those plans that sit and collect dust and you never do them. So, Allan, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I've filled my complete show notes page with so many brilliant tips. And, we really look forward to following your success in the future.
Thank you so much, Paul. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you today.
Great. Thanks a lot, Al. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
As I said at the start of this podcast, it is so difficult picking my top three here because Allan has given so much awesome content. But my top three are major and minor focus. I think that is so important. Spend 80% of your time on your major and then remove your minor. Second was get a mentor that's only a few steps ahead of you, not 100. He used a great analogy of Tiger Woods teaching him how to play golf. And the third is around get your team to hire their people. I think that was really powerful and something that I need to do better. So you can get the show notes at buildlivegive.com. And if you'd love to be a guest on the show, just click the email logo on our website, on our homepage, and send me an email, and we would love to put you in our waiting list. Please take action to build your business, to fund your lifestyle, and give back.
Thank you for listening to the Build, Live, Give podcast. If you like what you heard, please subscribe and leave us a review. It would mean the world to us.